Thrive, and to our weekly Thriving Thursday interview, where we speak with different beautiful health-minded souls about different aspects of health in every facet of life, really. And these happen every Thursday at noon Eastern US time. And we welcome you, whether you're watching us live on Facebook right now, or maybe you're checking out our Instagram TV posting of this, or on YouTube. Any way you're watching, we're very happy to have you here today.
And our guest today, I'm Mia Krishnaswamy, by the way.
And I'm Don Krishnaswamy.
And our guest today, Lisa Dahl, is a certified health and wellness coach at Lisa Dahl Wellness. Lisa Dahl, DAHL wellness.com, and we'll put that contact in the comments. But she works with people to help them rebuild body trust through mindful practices that just support whole body wellness. And she's going to be speaking with us about intuitive eating and how that relates to a healthy body image. She's a certified intuitive eating health coach. She's a workshop facilitator and meal planning expert. And through this intuitive eating, she really helps, her focus is women, and she really helps women learn how to listen to and trust and just respect their body, resulting in being happy, healthy, and confident at any size. And she combines nutritional coaching, accountability, and implementing one small change at a time to achieve long-term sustainability. She runs, as I said, Lisa Dahl Wellness. She facilitates her Body Peace and Freedom Food or Food Freedom program, as well as one-on-one coaching. And she has many certifications. She's continuously advancing her education in mindfulness and nutrition and coaching. And as she has one coaching philosophy, which is ditch the diet, focus on progress, not perfection. And she's an avid hiker and mountain biker and sailor, and our paths crossed through a networking group. And also, we just hit it off immediately because we're both huge animal lovers. We're both dog lovers. And so welcome, Lisa. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Welcome.
We're so happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to I'm just so happy to be here. And when you talk about dog lovers, before we even dive into intuitive eating, I have to share that when I met Mia, I had a chocolate lab who was probably 12 and healthy and happy. And she said, you know, I have these tabs and they're great and they're going to give your dog energy and do all these things. And I'm thinking, yeah, okay. Like, you know, and then she gave them to me and I was like, okay, she gave them to me. I'm going to try them out. And I have 2 grown kids and a partner. And I didn't tell anybody that I had these special tabs. And I just kind of was like, okay, let's do an experiment. And the kids came home a couple of months later. They're like, what's with the dog? And we had to laugh, and they became known as like the puppy uppers. And she just had this new amazing vitality. And every once in a while, we would do an experiment without telling anybody, and I would take her off the tabs, just kind of like, does it work? Does it not work? Like, is it, like, what is it? And every time they would, you know, somebody would come home and they're like, how come Denver's not looking so hot? Like what's going on? And I'd be like, damn, like you noticed. And back onto the puppy upper she would go. And Denver passed at 15 and a half, and she swam, she ran, she was happy, she was healthy. And I truly believe it had to do with those magical puppy uppers. So
Thank you. You were so cute. You know, 2 weeks into it, I remember you saying, how much are those puppy uppers for Rick and myself?
yep.
Anyway, yeah, we can have a whole conversation about that. But thank you for sharing that, because that just makes my heart sing. We understand that intuitive eating, you know, and just how that has changed for you, your life personally and professionally. Can you just speak about that?
Sure. So I started dieting at the age of 12 or 13, thinking that, you know, everybody else had this body image that I wanted, the thin ideal. And chronic dieter. I'm now 55, and I probably dieted until I was 52. Typical roller coaster where I was here and everywhere in between, with a lifetime of restriction, deprivation, rules, and always into health and wellness. And when I left my past career as a caterer, I thought I would become a health coach because I was the expert at dieting and I was going to help other women learn how to diet. What I discovered in my education and my journey to becoming a coach was that as I started to look at the damage that I was doing by weighing people and good days and bad days and trying to dissect what was happening, when I took weight loss off the table, it freed up so much space for them as well as myself. And then I discovered the book called Health at Every Size. And that was really my entryway into intuitive eating, which is all about being healthy at every size. And it's something that our society doesn't really understand or believe is possible. And when we take weight loss off the table and we learn how to be in tune to our body and change what health means, I was able to embody and internalize that message personally and professionally. And now I only work with women on helping them with intuitive eating. And it is a practice. It's not a diet. You can't fail it. There's not good days or bad days. It's really going through this journey of trying to view things with curiosity versus judgment. And it's just a freeing, liberating experience of getting rid of diet culture and these messages that don't serve any of us well.
Well, I have to say, that just makes so much sense, because what happens on the first of every year? What
Oh,
happens every New Year's, right?
it's horrible. And
How long does that really last? How many people are really successful with sticking at something like that? Because you're putting that restriction on yourself. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And maybe it lasts for 3 weeks. Maybe if you're lucky, it lasts for a couple of months. But
maybe,
yeah, maybe. And then you're back to, when do you do that again?
right.
The next New Year's.
And not only, the statistics are that 95% of people who go on diets, and I don't want to say that they fail, because I view it as the diets that have failed us. And what people don't understand is that it's the restriction and the deprivation that is one of the hugest components to the weight gain. When you learn how to give yourself permission to eat, it changes your relationship with food so that you don't have to stuff it all in. It's commonly referred to as the Last Supper. You're going on a diet, and tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., you're going to wake up and you're going to do all of these things. So at 11 o'clock and at 11:59 and 59 seconds, you better stuff that last thing in that you say to yourself, you're never eating again.
Mhm.
And sometimes even by the end of the day, that diet is over because it's just not sustainable. Your head isn't in it. How do you shift away from understanding that you are not broken, your body is not broken, and asking yourself, what do I need? What am I feeling? And emotional eating is not the horrible thing that people make it out to be. It's been one of your skills in your toolbox that you have used to be resourceful, especially in this past year where there's been so much stress that a lot of people have gone to emotional eating. And it's been one of those things that have kept you sane. And that's okay. How do you expand your toolbox so that you have other tools to understand how to help yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually? We are more than just our vessels. These are our bodies. What's in here and what's here? What does this need? Not what does our body shape need? How do we stop thinking about it as shrinking our bodies and versus nourishing our bodies?
Well, it's all related for whole body wellness, isn't it? Mind, body, spirit. We've got to address it all.
Absolutely.
So you've mentioned emotional eating. We're talking about intuitive eating. It's kind of what we've called this. Do you are those the same? Is there a distinction between emotional versus
So
intuitive?
So emotional, what it does is that it asks the questions, what is it? What emotion are you feeling? What is the trigger? How are you responding? What is your thought? Because you have your thoughts, and then you have your feelings, and then you have these actions based on your feelings, and then you have these results. If you don't like what that thought download looks like and how it lands, how do we change those thoughts so that you can embrace your here and now body? When you go on a diet, you have this image of what you're going to look like. Unfortunately, it's like your shoe size. We know that we can't change our shoe size. We know we can't change how tall we are. We have this magical thinking that we can change and reshape our bodies, quote unquote, forever. And that's not true. What do your ancestors look like? What does your stress level look like? What is do you have food insecurity? What have you experienced in your lifetime? Because all of those factors come into play on how you have your relationship with food and your body. And when we're talking about emotional eating, it's addressing those emotions so that you can understand where they're coming from and learn to make choices. And it's not about making a choice to shrink your body. It's more about asking yourself, what do I need? And sometimes you do need some ice cream. That it's okay. That when you take away the moral judgment on food, that all foods are equal, it changes your relationship, and you don't feel like you're being good or bad or right or wrong. And it frees up a lot of time, money, and energy when you shift away from that diet culture message.
That's very significant. You said the moral aspect of it. I guess we do, when we think about it, we do consider it a moral thing, like it's not immoral to eat ice cream or cookies or that kind of thing.
Or I was bad, I zigzagged,
Yeah.
Right.
Who's qualifying that that's bad? And it sounds like you're saying really listen to your body. If it's hungry, eat. If it's not, don't. And that could mean eating later at night, perhaps, and where conventionally one says, well, don't eat too close to bedtime, for example, right? So
It's your body. How do you, as dieters, we have given away our expertise. We believe that everybody else knows better. So there's this diet, and I'm just using keto as an example, and just as an example. Does that work for everybody? Because somebody says it does. This is all you need to do. The keto person doesn't really know anything about what your body needs or what's best for you and what is your emotional state and what's happening in your life. When you kind of step into your own being and to become the expert on you, it gives up a whole lot of freedom and space to make decisions. And sometimes the decisions are going to make you feel great. And sometimes your choices are going to be like, oh, like this didn't sit so well. And that's okay, because I'm going to know next time that I can have a scoop of ice cream. I don't feel so great when I have 3 or 4 scoops of ice cream or that half gallon of ice cream. So it's not that you can't have it. How do you want to feel when you're done with it? And when all these diets, nobody asks you, are you satisfied? All they do is tell you these many calories, this many macros. Without satisfaction, that's the thing that keeps you going back into the pantry 100 times. Like you open the door and you're like, what do I eat? Well, it's a rice cake. And, and you go back and you eat your little rice cake, and then you're like, I'm still not satisfied. And then you go back in and really trying to say, like, what? This is what I want. This is what I'm going to satisfy. This is what's going to satisfy me. It's going to save a whole lot of mental gymnastics and things that you don't really necessarily want or need because they're not serving you. So it's trying to balance out, how do you feel? What is your mental mindset? How do you manage your emotions with kindness versus with that judgment and saying like, oh my God, I'm so awful. I'm so this, I'm so that. How would you talk to a child, or how would you talk to your partner or your best friend? What would you say? How do you offer yourself the compassion that you so freely give to everybody else? And that's a hard concept for people.
Yeah, and it's learned very early, don't you think? Because I remember sitting at the table, I was always the last one. You know, I'm one of 5 kids and I was always the last one. No Edie, no Outie. You know, I mean, that was kind of the way it was when we were raised, right? And, you know, babies, for instance, right? They know when they're full and
Yeah.
they stop eating. What happens when we start to condition children at such a young age about their eating habits, you know?
And that is just such a great question, because as babies, we're naturally born intuitive eaters. And as parents or caregivers, we always think we know best, because when the baby cries, you give them the breast or a bottle, or if it's a toddler, you give them food. And then all of a sudden they clamp their mouth shut. And we think, well, did they get enough? Like, are they still hungry? And you start to play, those games, and you're like waving the spoon and play, and they're opening their mouths. And what we're doing is that we're teaching our children not to trust our bodies or their bodies, and that we are the experts on their bodies. And that's not true. Not to say that, we're not talking medical interventions of what's best for your children. We're talking that as parents, it's our job to provide food. It's the children's job to decide how much they want and when they want to eat it. How do we get away from, we're so regimented and scheduled, 7 a.m. you need to eat breakfast at, if the kids go to school at 11:22, they have to eat lunch. Nobody's asking them if they're hungry. And it starts to push down that ability to listen, trust, and respect their bodies of when and what they should be eating. And it makes a difference. It's like if you have kids at home and you're like, you call them and say, it's time for lunch. And they're kind of like, like, not really. But you're like, well, we're on a schedule. What would that, and then you're mad that they don't finish it all. What would that
You're gonna be
conversation,
hungry later, right?
right? So what would that conversation look like? And say, are you hungry? Or lunch is ready. Why don't you tell me when you're ready to come in and eat? And shift that. And there's a difference, sometimes you need to listen to your body cues that I'm hungry. Sometimes if you know that you're going to be in meetings all day, there's self-care, saying, I'm going to be in a meeting for 4 hours. I better eat something now so that I don't crash and burn during it, versus going in and then in the middle you're shaking and you can't think. Just because it's 10:15 and not the right time to eat, think about your self-care. How can you prepare for that event? And how can you prepare for after? Because you're going to be hungry. What can you plan for so that you are on top of what your body needs? And it takes practice. This is all practice.
Yeah, it really takes that preparation. If you're going to take a flight somewhere and you
Exactly.
haven't eaten, and it's going to be a 5-hour flight, then,
Right.
are you going to be starving when you get off that flight, or do you have something that you can
Right.
tide yourself over with?
Exactly. Like when we travel, we know, like, you don't know what kind of delays they're going to be. And we travel with a stash kit just in case. And it's, people get caught in saying, well, you're not supposed to meal plan with intuitive eating. Well, yes, you can, because you kind of think about what kind of things do I like, and how to have some handy things on, in the pantry or in your refrigerator, so that when you get caught in those times, that you do have some things to go to. So there's listening to your body, and there's the balance of how to be prepared so that they mix and match. And sometimes if you're out and about and all you can do is eat a donut, then eat the donut and enjoy it. And enjoy it. Get rid of the guilt. Get rid of the drama and the trauma that goes with it. Understand where it's all coming from.
So I want to ask a couple of quick questions. One about the rage of it's all a rage these days, intermittent fasting, but and along with that, or maybe before that, you can answer in either order you'd like. Assume you use with your work with this. Oh, there's the baby. So,
There's commotion in the house.
dogs. We love
Animals
it.
always steal the show.
We
So
love
She was so calm. But going ahead with your question, I'm sorry.
You must have seen some beautiful results with people when you know work with them with the intuitive eating. Can you talk about any of that, and then also about how does intermittent fasting work with this? Because it doesn't sound like it's that sounds like a regimented thing. I'm not going to eat for 16 hours or something. So both of
Yeah, so two great questions. So with intuitive eating, the one thing that I will guarantee you is I will have no idea if you will lose weight, gain weight, or stay the same, because it is not about weight loss. It's taking weight loss entirely off of the table. So when we talk about results, we're talking about how do you feel in your body? What does your energy look like? What does your blood work look like? How do we say, how do we embrace our here and now bodies? How do we do all the things that we want to do as opposed to waiting for hang on one second. I need to put her down.
Sure, of course.
It's
No
all
problem.
good.
How do you embrace your here and now body so that you are not waiting for this magical time of when I am this, I'm going to go and do that. That time may never come. How do you enjoy the beach? How do you enjoy your children, your grandchildren, going out and doing all the things that you want to do because you can nourish your body and you can be physically active and it doesn't matter what size you are. So going back to the intermittent fasting, personally, it's not something that I am a proponent of because it's not listening to your body. Your body naturally fasts when you go to sleep at night and you wake up in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, how hungry are you? Are you hungry when you wake up? Or are you hungry an hour later? What is your body saying? How long how long is something that you do like purposely, like intermittent fasting, how many years or how many months is that sustainable? Because that's restriction and deprivation. When you restrict and deprive, that payback, that refeed is where you get into trouble and you start that continuous roller coaster cycle of being on and off a diet. And when somebody tells you, oh, you can eat intuitively with intermittent fasting, that's really not true. There's no intuitive eating is about eliminating the rules and really listening to your body. And that doesn't include structure.
You know, what's interesting is I naturally many times intermittent fast. It's not planned. It's just kind of what happens. It's the way that I roll. It's so I eat when I'm hungry, and when I'm hungry, I need to eat.
So when you intermittently fast, just because that's what you're feeling, that's fine.
Right. If you're not hungry, and a lot of people who have diet histories, they don't even know what their hunger signals feel like. They don't know what full feels like. They don't know, they go from 0 to 60 in a split second. How do you start to clue into those hunger signals? Because is it about, your tummy rumbling? Is it your head is getting foggy? What's happening within your body to signal that you're starting to be hungry? And there's different ways that you can experiment to start to understand what your hunger and what your fullness looks like. And again, it's all about learning to explore what's happening within your mind and body.
Yes. Okay. So I just want to ask you one final question because we are coming towards the end.
Yes.
But both Don and I, being in the field of nutrigenomics, which is how nutrition and natural compounds can affect us and affect us on a genetic level. What do you have to say about the nutritional component? Because in a way, it might indicate that the nutritional component is last with intuitive eating. Am I wrong? Can you correct that or help?
So a great question. Nutrition does come last in the practice of intuitive eating. And the reason for that is because people who are coming off of diets, they're so ingrained in calories and the proteins and the carbs. And I can even use myself as an example, is that at the height of my diet history, I would go to a supermarket and I would just walk down the aisles and I wouldn't even see food. I would just see labels in my head and I would see X calories, 3 grams of carbs, 4 grams of fiber, blah, 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 blah. And I would choose food based on that makeup.
Yeah.
So we try to get away from, because as soon as you start looking at labels, it still brings back into that diet culture and weight is on the table. We want to take weight off of the table. Go to your highest place in your house or your condo or your apartment or wherever you can find. take that scale and heave it out the window and watch it crash and burn, so that you can learn how to listen to your body. And then when you start to understand all the cues and the emotions and the compassion, that's when you start to really say, like, and you'll naturally start to gravitate towards foods that make you feel good. And those are typically whole foods, and there's room for Doritos and ring dings. It's not all or nothing. How do you listen to your body? And sometimes you just want that donut that made you feel good and reminded you of childhood. Who cares? Because you can have it. You no longer need a dozen. Typically, one will be enough. And sometimes you want more, and that's okay too.
Well, I think a lot of people would be happy with this news about the Doritos and the donuts.
Right.
Oh, Lisa Dahl, this has been just very enlightening to just have this different sense of how to take care of ourselves as far as what we eat. I think a lot of people maybe don't think about this, and I hope more people do. I hope you're able to have more and more impact, sharing this with people. And we're just so grateful to have had you on today's Thriving Thursday interview. And if anybody would like to connect with Lisa, just message us. We can connect you with Lisa Dahl Wellness. She'll be very happy to speak with you more. And we also have ideas. We work in the field of nutrigenomics, how nutrition can impact our genes. We'd be happy to share more with you about that if you want to ask us. But at any event, thank you so much for joining us today, for watching this interview, and Lisa for being with us today. It's been wonderful.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
thank you so much. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.